This wild monkey grabbed a 2-year-old and nearly escaped with her. This sneaky coyote crept into a yard and snatched a toddler. And this eagle? It swooped down and carried off a child like prey. These are the shocking stories of dangerous animals who kidnapped kids on camera. Monkey kidnaps Ukrainian toddler. War had already stolen so much from Paulina's family when they fled Ukraine for safety in Russia. The 2-year-old refugee and her parents found temporary shelter in the village of Terpigoryevo, grateful for the kindness of a neighbor who offered them refuge. What they didn't know was that their host was a wealthy man whose property included a private zoo housing monkeys, wolves, and elephants. On July 22, 2022, this seemingly generous arrangement would turn into their worst nightmare. Paulina was playing innocently on a ladder with other children when an escaped monkey from the neighboring collection suddenly appeared. The aggressive primate grabbed her while she was on the ladder, pulling her down to the ground and beginning to bite and drag her. Her terrified screams pierced the afternoon air as chaos erupted around the small play area. Her mother's maternal instincts kicked in immediately when she heard the commotion, but what she discovered outside was beyond comprehension. The monkey refused to release its grip, clinging to the toddler's leg and continuing to drag her as she desperately tried to pull her daughter to safety. When Paulina's father arrived, the situation only escalated. The primate became more vicious, launching attacks on both parents while they fought desperately to save their child. The father appeared hesitant or scared. His kicks were half-hearted, possibly due to fear of the monkey's bites or scratches, which can carry diseases like rabies. After what felt like an eternity of terror, he finally managed to separate the animal from Paulina. She suffered severe injuries, including deep cuts and bites on her arms and legs, resulting in significant blood loss, and was rushed to a local hospital where she underwent emergency surgery. Now, if you thought Paulina's monkey incident was terrifying, you'll be absolutely shocked at this next case we're about to discuss. Monkey snatches child from street bench. Street performances had always been a colorful part of life in Indonesian cities, but what happened in Surabaya during early May 2020 would forever change how people viewed these entertaining spectacles. 3 children were enjoying a peaceful moment together, sitting on a bench in a narrow residential alley, completely unaware that danger was racing toward them on 2 wheels. A performing monkey, trained for the traditional topeng monyet, shows that had faced bans in regions like Jakarta since 2013 due to animal cruelty concerns, was pedaling its tiny bicycle at alarming speed directly toward the unsuspecting children. The entertainment industry's poor treatment of these animals had created a ticking time bomb of aggression and unpredictable behavior. Without any warning signs, the primate abandoned its bicycle and grabbed the toddler by the clothing or limb and began dragging her along the ground. The child's terrified screams echoed through the narrow alley as her 2 companions scattered in absolute panic. The monkey's determination was frightening as it pulled her across several feet of rough pavement. Fortunately, a man, possibly the monkey's handler or a nearby adult, quickly appeared and chased the monkey, pulling the animal off the child and shooing it away. His swift intervention prevented what could have escalated into a much more tragic situation. The toddler was retrieved unharmed, with no reported injuries beyond minor scrapes from being dragged, though all 3 children remained visibly shaken as adults rushed to comfort them. That Indonesian street monkey was lightning quick, but this next case reveals how wild predators can invade peaceful suburban yards. Coyote drags toddler across yard. Friday afternoons were meant for family time and relief after a long week, but for the Eliahuo family, December 2, 2022, around 3:45 p.m. would become a date forever etched in their memory for all the wrong reasons. Ariel had just picked up 2-year-old Araya from daycare and was going through the routine of unloading items from their car when predatory instincts from the wild decided to invade their suburban sanctuary. Their Woodland Hills neighborhood seemed like the perfect place to raise children, but its proximity to the Santa Monica Mountains, where coyotes are common due to urban expansion encroaching on wildlife habitats, meant that danger was always lurking just beyond the comfortable illusion of safety. Aria stood innocently in their front yard, probably watching her father work, when the unthinkable happened. The family's Ring security camera captured every horrifying second as a wild coyote burst into frame with deadly precision. The predator targeted Aria without hesitation and grabbed her by her leggings or lower body, immediately biting down and beginning to drag her across the yard while she screamed in pain and fear. Ariel initially thought his daughter had simply fallen, but the reality hit him like a sledgehammer when he turned around. He rushed over shouting and scooped Aria into his arms while trying to fend off the aggressive animal with his body. The coyote's persistence was terrifying as it backed away momentarily but refused to leave, forcing Ariel to throw a nearby water bottle at it and yell to scare it away. Aria sustained bites and scratches on her legs, requiring stitches and a series of rabies shots as a precaution. Coyotes can be brutal predators, but if you thought that attack was bad, you'll be horrified terrified at this next case. Raccoon attacks girl at school bus stop. School mornings were supposed to follow a predictable rhythm in the McNamara household, with 5-year-old Riley following the same routine that had become second nature to her young life. On December 2, 2022, around 7:55 a.m., she stepped onto her front porch in Ashford, Connecticut, to wait for her school bus, just as she had done countless times before. But this morning, something was terribly wrong with the natural world around their rural home. A raccoon suddenly appeared, lunging at her leg and latching on with its claws and teeth. The animal's aggressive behavior in broad daylight immediately raised alarm bells about rabies, since raccoons are naturally creatures of the night. Riley's small frame was no match for the determined animal as the raccoon wrapped around her leg, biting and refusing to release despite her desperate efforts to shake it off. Her screams for help cut through the morning air and reached her mother, Logan McNamara, who initially assumed her daughter had simply hurt herself on the door. The shocking reality became clear when Logan rushed outside to discover the raccoon in full attack mode on her child. Maternal instincts overrode any sense of self-preservation as Logan grabbed the raccoon by the scruff, pulling it off while screaming, "It's a rabid raccoon, get some help!" The confrontation intensified as Logan hurled the raccoon across the lawn into the woods, fending it off as it tried to re-engage before finally retreating into the forest. Both mother and daughter suffered bite marks, punctures, and scratches on their legs and hands, requiring immediate hospital treatment and rabies shots. That rabid raccoon was utterly vicious, but this next case reveals how gentle giants can become dangerous child kidnappers. Giraffe lifts toddler at safari park. Family adventures to wildlife parks are supposed to create magical memories that last a lifetime, and for the Totten family visiting Fossil Rim Wildlife Center on June 1, 2024, the day certainly became unforgettable, just not in the way they had planned. Father Jason, Mother Sierra Robert, and 2-year-old Paisley had driven through the 1,800-acre Texas facility in their black pickup truck, excited about feeding and interacting with over 1,000 exotic animals. The park's policies at the time allowed Paisley and Sierra to ride in the open truck bed, making the feeding experience more immersive and enjoyable for families. As they approached the giraffe area, Paisley stood up with her handful of feed pellets, eager to share treats with the gentle giants. The atmosphere was cheerful and relaxed as other families engaged in similar interactions nearby. A mature giraffe approached their vehicle with its characteristic grace, extending its impossibly long neck toward the truck bed where Paisley waited with her offering. But instead of the gentle feeding interaction they expected, the giraffe leaned in and its mouth caught Paisley's shirt collar or ponytail holder, lifting her about 10-15 feet into the air with her legs dangling. Sierra screamed and reached up desperately, grabbing Paisley's legs while Jason yelled from the driver's seat. The startled giraffe opened its mouth and dropped Paisley back into Sierra's arms in a gentle manner that prevented injury. Paisley was unharmed physically with no bites, scratches, or falls, but was emotionally shaken. Fossil Rim banned riding in open truck beds on June 6, 2024. Now, if you thought that giraffe lift was purely accidental, you'll be completely stunned at this next case we're about to discuss. Monkeys attempt child abduction. Tourism and wildlife don't always mix as harmoniously as travel brochures suggest, especially in places where human visitors encounter animals that have lost their natural fear of people. The Sacred Monkey Forest Sanctuary in Ubud, Bali, draws over 1.5 million visitors yearly who come to experience the wonder of over 1,200 long-tailed macaques living freely in this 30-acre Hindu temple complex. Around 2022-2023, one young Western tourist would learn firsthand why feeding warnings exist for good reason. The girl, appearing to be around 4 to 6 years old, approached 2 monkeys with food in hand, likely a banana or snack. Despite official bans on feeding designed to curb aggression, vendors continue selling bananas outside the sanctuary, creating a confusing mixed message for well-meaning visitors. The monkeys approached expectantly, and the girl innocently offered her treat, completely unaware that she was about to become part of the transaction herself. One monkey accepted the food, but then latched onto the girl's hand or arm, pulling her forward in a persistent, firm grip that showed no intention of letting go. The girl's surprise was evident as she resisted the animal's pull, but the monkey's strength and determination far exceeded her small frame's ability to resist. Her father, who had been standing nearby watching the interaction, quickly realized the situation was escalating beyond a simple feeding. He grabbed his daughter and pulled her back, creating a brief tug-of-war with the determined primate. The monkey finally released its grip after the father's persistent efforts and scampered away into the trees. The girl sustained no visible injuries with no bites or scratches. Monkeys can be incredibly persistent hunters, but this next case reveals how aerial predators can join the deadly kidnapping game. Golden eagle snatches toddler. Sometimes the most shocking wildlife encounters turn out to be the least real, as Montreal discovered when footage surfaced on December 19, 2012, showing what appeared to be a golden eagle swooping down in Mont-Royal Park to snatch a toddler from the ground. The 18-second clip seemed to capture every parent's worst nightmare as a massive bird of prey descended from the sky with predatory precision. The footage showed a family enjoying what appeared to be a peaceful picnic when a golden eagle suddenly descended in a hunting stoop, extending its talons to grab the child's jacket and carrying him a short distance before losing grip and dropping him to the ground. The realism was so convincing that the footage quickly amassed over 45 million views within days, fooling millions of viewers and even major media outlets who reported on the incident as genuine. Wildlife experts, however, immediately questioned the footage's authenticity. Expert David Bird debunked it on CBC Radio by December 20th, pointing to unnatural shadows and eagle behavior inconsistencies that didn't align with how these raptors actually hunt and behave around humans. The physics simply didn't add up for a bird attempting to carry a human child. The truth emerged when 4 students from the Centre NAD in Montreal, Normand Archambault, Loic Miro, Antoine Segal, and Félix Marquis-Poulain, admitted creating it as a 3D animation and digital design course project. The students admitted the hoax via a school press release explaining their CGI process and receiving top grades for their incredibly sophisticated work that took approximately 400 hours to complete. If you thought that Eagle Swoop was absolutely dramatic, you'll be utterly devastated by this next case we're about to discuss. Chimpanzee kidnaps kid. Forests that once provided sanctuary for both humans and wildlife were becoming battlegrounds in Uganda during the 1990s, as deforestation and agricultural expansion pushed 2 species into deadly competition for space. The village of Rutete in Kibale district had coexisted with chimpanzees for generations, but 1994 marked a tragic turning point when this uneasy balance collapsed in the most horrific way imaginable. 2-year-old Damien was playing unsupervised outside his family's mud brick home near the forest edge, engaging in the kind of innocent childhood activities that rural communities had taken for granted for centuries. His family had no reason to expect danger from their forest neighbors, despite the increasing reports of crop raids and territorial encounters that had been escalating throughout the region. A lone adult male chimpanzee emerged from nearby bush, spotting the toddler and grabbing him by the limbs or torso before dragging him toward the forest. Damien's screams alerted his family, but the powerful primate moved with devastating speed, covering significant ground in mere seconds. Once in the bush cover, the chimp mauled Damien, biting and tearing at his body with reports indicating partial consumption, focusing on soft tissues like the abdomen and limbs. Family and villagers rushed toward the fading screams, but arrived too late to save the boy. The chimp had fled after killing Damien, whose mutilated body was found partially eaten in the bush, with tracks and wounds confirming the chimpanzee's involvement. Local hunters attempted to find the responsible chimp, but failed. That chimpanzee killed in remote wilderness. But this next case reveals how pack hunters can bring pure terror to city streets. Stray dogs attack girl in India. New Year's Day 2022 was supposed to mark a fresh beginning, but for 4-year-old Goody Bansal in Bhopal's Anjali Vihar colony, January 1st became a date that would forever be associated with terror and survival. India's massive stray dog population, estimated at 58 million nationwide, had been growing increasingly aggressive, but nothing could have prepared this working-class family for what was about to unfold outside their modest home. Goody was engaging in the simple pleasure of outdoor play that fills childhood with joy, completely unaware that 5 stray dogs had formed a pack and were approaching her location. The dogs moved with coordinated predatory instincts, and when they spotted the small child, their pack mentality shifted into full attack mode. The pack appeared on the street, approaching her rapidly and causing her to run in panic toward safety. Unfortunately, Goody's small legs were no match for the determined canines. One dog yanked at her dress, causing her to fall to the ground before 2 dogs immediately targeted her head and face, biting ferociously and dragging her along the road. The brutality escalated as the remaining dogs joined the attack, chewing at her legs, hands, ears, and stomach while working in coordination to pull her body in different directions. Goody's desperate screams pierced the air, but salvation came from an unexpected hero. A young male passerby picked up stones from the roadside and threw them at the attacking dogs while shouting, successfully dispersing the pack after several hits. Goody suffered severe bites on her head, ears, stomach, and legs, requiring emergency treatment at Hamidia Hospital, including anti-rabies vaccines. Street dogs can form terrifying packs, but you'll be absolutely amazed at what happens in this next case we're discussing. Coyote attacks boy at softball game. Summer evenings at the ballpark represent the essence of American family life, where parents gather to cheer on their children and communities come together around the simple joy of youth sports. Del Amo Park in Carson, California had hosted countless such gatherings, but August 4, 2025 would prove that even the most innocent family activities could become stages for nature's most terrifying performances. 6-year-old Enoch Palomar was there to support his sister during her youth softball tournament, probably feeling the excitement that comes with being part of a big family sporting event. While the game continued on the field, Enoch wandered behind the playing area, perhaps exploring or taking a break from the action, when a coyote suddenly appeared from nearby bushes, charging at him without warning. The predator's attack was swift and merciless as it chased Enoch, who screamed and tried to run, but the coyote caught up, biting his legs and thighs and causing him to fall. Once the boy was down, the animal's aggression intensified, biting his back and head while Enoch kicked and yelled. The 6-year-old later described his desperate struggle, saying, "I was trying my hardest and then it didn't work," as the coyote dodged his defensive efforts. His mother, Melissa Palomar, heard the terrifying screams and sprinted toward the commotion, yelling, "Get up!" to scare the animal. Other witnesses joined in creating noise that finally deterred the coyote, which fled across the field into hiding. Enoch sustained deep puncture wounds on his thighs, back and head, requiring 20 stitches and rabies shots. That coyote attacked on solid land, but this next case reveals how underwater predators can become determined child snatchers. Octopus grabs boy at aquarium. Educational family outings to aquariums are designed to inspire wonder and appreciation for marine life. But the San Antonio Aquarium's interactive exhibits took on a darker meaning on July 30, 2025, when the boundary between visitor and marine life became dangerously blurred. Brittany Tarrin had brought her 6-year-old son Leo for what should have been an enlightening summer adventure, but their encounter with Cthulhu, a giant Pacific octopus, would become a cautionary tale about the risks of hands-on wildlife experiences. The aquarium's touch tanks were specifically designed to allow visitors to safely interact with marine creatures, promoting education through direct contact. Leo, like many curious children, was drawn to the fascinating cephalopod and reached into the open-top touch tank, extending his arm toward the octopus. Cthulhu initially appeared calm, extending one of its arms to make contact with the boy's hand, using its powerful suckers. What started as gentle exploration quickly escalated when the octopus wrapped its arm around Leo's forearm, applying suction that created what Brittany described as a vice grip. Leo attempted to pull away, but found himself trapped by the creature's incredible strength, with each sucker capable of 35 pounds of force, holding firm and pulling his arm deeper into the tank. The 6-year-old began crying in pain and fear as the situation persisted. For approximately 5 minutes, the octopus maintained its hold while Leo cried, and Brittany and bystanders tried to intervene by gently prying the arm off. But the animal resisted their efforts. Aquarium staff eventually arrived, using techniques like distracting the octopus with food to encourage release. Leo suffered multiple bruises, welts, and minor abrasions along his arm from the suckers. Octopuses can have incredible grip strength, but you'll be completely shocked at what unfolds in this next case we're covering. Lion cub lunges at child on TV. Television studios in Mexico during 2006 operated under different safety standards than today, especially when it came to incorporating live animals into entertainment programming. The daytime talk show Consuelo de Mujer on Televisa was known for featuring diverse guests and light-hearted segments designed to appeal to families, but one particular episode would become a cautionary tale about the unpredictable nature of wild animals in controlled environments. A mother and her toddler daughter were invited to participate in what was supposed to be a charming segment featuring young lion cubs. The show's producers likely saw this as wholesome entertainment, cute babies interacting with adorable baby animals under the watchful eyes of professional trainers. The mother held her daughter calmly on her lap, probably feeling secure in the studio environment, surrounded by television professionals and animal handlers. The lion cub, despite its young age, retained powerful predatory instincts that entertainment value couldn't override. Without warning, the cub lunged at the toddler, grabbing her leg or clothing with its paws and mouth, attempting to pull her from her mother's arms in a predatory manner. The mother's grip tightened as she screamed, desperately trying to maintain hold of her daughter while the cub persisted in its attack. The struggle continued for several terrifying seconds as the cub tugged forcefully while the mother held tightly and the toddler cried in fear. The trainer and show staff rushed in, prying the cub away by its scruff, while other guests helped shield the child. The toddler sustained no physical injuries beyond possible scratches, and the segment ended abruptly with the cub removed from the set. That lion cub lunged on live television, but this next case reveals how America's safest destinations can become hunting grounds. Alligator snatches toddler at Disney resort. Disney World represents the pinnacle of family entertainment, where magic and safety are supposed to go hand in hand to create perfect childhood memories. The Grand Floridian Resort and Spa, with its Victorian elegance and luxury amenities, had hosted countless families seeking the ultimate Disney vacation experience, but for the Graves family from Nebraska, June 14, 2016, would forever shatter the illusion that Disney's carefully controlled environment could protect against the unpredictable forces of nature. Matt and Melissa Graves had brought their 2 children to Florida for what was meant to be a dream vacation at one of Disney's most prestigious resorts. 2-year-old Lane Thomas Graves was enjoying a Movies Under the Stars screening on the Seven Seas Lagoon beachfront, playing in the shallow water while his family relaxed nearby. The man-made beach area carried no swimming signs but had no explicit alligator warnings, creating a false sense of security for guests who assumed Disney's famous attention to detail extended to wildlife management. Around 9:15 p.m., as dusk settled over the lagoon, a wild American alligator emerged from the water, lunging at Lane and clamping its jaws around his head or torso, dragging him backward into deeper water. Matt Graves immediately jumped into the water, grabbing the alligator's snout and trying to pry its jaws open, sustaining bites to his hand during the struggle. Melissa also entered the water, attempting to pull Lane back by his legs in a desperate tug of war. The alligator overpowered them, rolling to drown Lane and submerging with the child into the murky 6-foot-deep lagoon. Divers found Lane's body intact 16 hours later, about 10-15 feet from shore, confirming death by drowning and neck trauma. Now, if you thought Disney's alligator was absolutely terrifying, you'll be completely horrified at this next case we're about to discuss. Black bear attacks toddler in Montana. Family camping trips to Montana represent the quintessential American outdoor experience, where multiple generations gather under the vast western sky to reconnect with nature and each other. Perry's RV Park and Campground, located south of Red Lodge in the shadow of the Beartooth Mountains, had welcomed countless families seeking adventure in the pristine wilderness near Yellowstone National Park. For the Finley-Dixon family from Washington State, August 11, 2024, around 10 p.m., would transform their multi-generational camping trip into a fight for survival. 3-year-old Madison Finley Dixon was sleeping peacefully in their tent alongside her mother, Leah, probably exhausted from a day filled with the excitement and wonder that comes with exploring Montana's wilderness. The campground lacked bear-proof storage facilities, relying instead on campers to follow proper food storage protocols, a system that depended entirely on human compliance and knowledge of bear safety practices. An adult female black bear, attracted by food odors from unsecured items near or in the tent, approached quietly around 10 p.m. while Madison and Leah slept. The bear ripped through the tent fabric with its claws, creating an opening and startling the occupants from their sleep. The bear swiped or bit at Madison's head, causing superficial lacerations, while Leah was also struck on the head while protecting her daughter. Screams alerted other campers and family members, including Madison's father Chris, who rushed to help drive the bear away with noise and lights. Madison and Leah had minor head wounds, treated with stitches and antibiotics at St. Vincent Healthcare in Billings, and Montana Fish, Wildlife and Parks euthanized the suspected bear by 8:25 p.m. on August 12th after DNA matching. Bears can be incredibly dangerous predators, but this next case reveals how aquatic hunters can drag children into murky water. River otter drags child into water. Waterfront recreational areas offer families the perfect blend of urban convenience and natural beauty, but the Bremerton Marina in Washington State would prove that even the most family-friendly environments can harbor unexpected dangers. September 12, 2024, around 9:30 a.m., transformed a routine morning walk into a terrifying encounter that would highlight the growing overlap between urban development and wildlife habitats in the Pacific Northwest. A mother and her toddler were enjoying what should have been a peaceful stroll along the marina's wooden docks, taking in the scenic views of Sinclair Inlet and the Olympic Mountains beyond. The 3-year-old was walking or playing near the dock's edge, probably fascinated by the water and marine life below, when danger emerged from the depths with shocking suddenness. A North American river otter emerged from the water below, climbing onto the dock structure and targeting the child directly. The otter latched onto the child's leg or clothing with its claws and teeth, pulling them off the dock and into the shallow water about 3 to 4 feet deep. The child was briefly dragged underwater underwater, struggling and screaming, which immediately alerted the mother to the crisis. The mother jumped into the water without hesitation, grabbing her child and attempting to pry the otter off. During the struggle, the otter bit and scratched both the mother and child, exhibiting defensive aggression for several seconds. Bystanders and marina staff heard the commotion and assisted, with the mother successfully pulling the child free as the otter released its grip and fled back into the inlet. Both required hospital treatment for bites and scratches, along with rabies prophylaxis. Luckily, there were no complications, though they remained under observation for potential infections. Thanks for watching. If you had a good time, keep the adventure alive by clicking on one of the suggested videos on your screen right now for more amazing content.